I had worked with Richard Sherman back on Iron Man 2. I had met him through John Debney, who was composing for that film as well. He did Jungle Book. And we wanted to write a theme for the Stark Expo, as Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father, would have had it back in the old days. And Howard Stark was an amalgam of different characters, but one of the influences was Walt Disney. And so the idea that he had a Disney-like theme for his expo back in the 60s was really exciting. And of course, we thought the best resource for that would be Dick Sherman, because he wrote a lot of the classic Disney tunes from the parks and from the films. And so I met Richard Sherman, who pitched on his piano that version of the song, and I thought it was wonderful. And now here I am a few years later doing, with John Debney, working on Jungle Book, and the idea that we got to pull Richard Sherman in to this to help collaborate, because he was such a big part of the original film. And the opportunity arose when I changed the character of King Louis to a creature called the Gigantopithecus. There were no orangutans in the Indian jungle, but thousands of years ago there was a species called Gigantopithecus, which probably looks something like an orangutan. And as soon as we did that, we wanted to change the song "I Want to Be Like You" to match that new character. And so we brought him in to write new lyrics. And it was so funny, because as I was pitching him, now he's an older man, and you don't know if he's still on top of his game. If you don't know him, you just don't know. And I sat and talked to him, always was polite. I started explaining what the song is and what the new lyrics I wanted were. And I said, well, Louis now a Gigantopithecus. And he says, stop right there. He says, say that word again. And I said, Gigantopithecus, give me a pen. Let me write that down. Gigantopithecus. And remember, this is the guy who wrote Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, so he loves words. And he starts riffing on Gigantopithecus. And he says, give me a shot at this. And he comes back the next day, and not only did he use it once, he used it twice and found words that rhyme with Gigantopithecus. So this guy still has got his edge, like he did whatever it was 50 years ago when they wrote the music for the old version. I don't remember seeing it for the first time because I was so young. So I don't remember when I first saw it, but I remembered very vividly the images from it as I was hired to do this. And I don't think it was that I just saw it recently with my kids. I was looking at a lot of material of Disney old animated content for when I was developing a project called Magic Kingdom, where the park comes to life. And so I was doing research in that, but I knew about the movie way before then. I knew, and I could, and if you look at frames in the live action version, without referencing and looking at it, they line up almost exactly with some of the frames in the animated film. So it must have been one of the first films I saw. It came out in '67. I was born in '66. I remember having a dream about Mowgli when I was little. The first dream I ever remember having was of Mowgli riding in the backseat of my parents' Toyota through Manhattan as I stood on the street corner and watched him going by through the window. And I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure what it represents, but I do remember vividly that Mowgli was a character that I must have related very much to, because he felt like a real kid, a kid I could know, and maybe a kid I was aspiring to be, because he was kind of adventurous and kind of, confident and physical and would get into trouble. So, I don't really get where that memory began, but I do know that as we made the live action version, even though that was a G-rated musical for children, and this was more of a PG adventure film that was more in the spirit of maybe the older animated Disney films or Lion King, I still wanted to include images from that. And some of those images were Mowgli singing with Baloo as they floated in the river. One of it was Kaa with his scintillating eyes, hypnotizing Mowgli, who's trapped in his coils. I remember the marching elephants. I remember the tiger stalking through the grass, and I remember him being scared of the fire. I remember the temple collapsing, the monkeys snatching up Mowgli. So I wanted to grab things that I knew that other people my age would remember and make sure that I infuse it into the story, so that if you're looking for that emotional connection to the music, to the moments, they'd be there. But then we could build upon that and create something that's a little bit more ambitious when it comes to the action aspect of the movie.